This is Grapplers Talk.
What is up, fans of Grapplers Talk? This is Dave coming at you with another awesome episode each and every week. We are wrapping up 2024, an awesome year so far. Starting this podcast and bringing you the best grappling content each and every week has been something I'm really passionate about. And it thrills me, all the messages, all the support I get for doing this podcast. I just appreciate hearing from the fans about what you guys are getting out of it too. Like for each person, it's different what they listen to the podcast for. Sometimes it's fans of a certain person. Sometimes they just want to learn a little bit more about the Jiu-Jitsu lifestyle and the Jiu-Jitsu journey. And I'm excited. I'm bringing on a guest this week. He's a great friend of mine. And, sometimes like when you need somebody and you know who you can call on, and this gentleman will show up for you no matter what. Really good friend of mine. I've known you for a few years now, man. We met at Rodney Hu's dojo years back, and man, right away, me and this guy clicked, and something about him. I thought he was a very special person, and I'm thrilled to have my good buddy Rex on the show, man. What is up?
What's going on, brother?
Yeah,
thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm glad to have you, brother, and not only because like obviously you've trained a lot and you've done a lot of jiu-jitsu and a lot of different. You've at least attempted a lot of different martial arts, done a little boxing here, a little wrestling here, and.
Yes,
But you're a big fan of the show, man, and that's why I like having you on. I want to kind of get feedback of the fans' perspective of this year in grappling. So,
man, honestly, this is one of my favorite podcasts to listen to.
Yeah.
I mean, not just the fact that I know you, but on top of that, listening to all the local people, all their stories, I think is awesome.
Yeah. If you follow martial arts, there's a big local, following of martial arts. I don't know what it is about this town. It's always been a fight town, man, but getting to hear these stories, and for me, I've always nerded out on these stories. I've been fans of the Diaz brothers and Steve Heath, and I've heard these legendary stories, but one of these days, it sucks to say, but we may not be able to hear these stories, right? These certain people aren't going to be around as we get older, as life changes, people move and different things happen. So, I want to get it out there while we can, let's enjoy it. Let's talk about it. Let's build off of it. And
there really is a lot of history in this city with martial arts, with boxing, with eskrima, with everything.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu. I mean, Steve Heath, legend.
Yeah. Steve, dude, when I first got into jiu-jitsu back in the day, I might have said this story on the podcast before, but I heard he got hit by a bus. That was the story. He was in Japan. He was about to fight. And he got fucking hit by a bus, and he still fought. This is the legendary story I heard. He still fought, and he either won or something like that. But he got hit by a bus and still fought. That was the story. And so I think I asked him about it a couple times, and there were truths to that story. I don't know the exact truth to it, but yeah, it's a wild place here in Stockton, man.
Yeah, getting hit by a bus though. I mean, no matter how you change that story around, he got hit by a bus.
It's pretty badass. It's pretty badass no matter how you want to look at it. And then back in hearing those stories that we've talked about with guys like Carlton and Dave Lowson of having those big time fights from Neil Amos back in the day, the Main Street Gym fights.
Man, if Dave can actually get that video,
dude,
that would be crazy. I mean, I've heard so many stories, even from your original podcast on Sinner and the Saint.
Yeah.
And those stories sound crazy. And just the amount of people that were there, reffing, fighting, just on the side, it's crazy.
I talked to a friend of mine, and he said that he knew Neil. I forget how he knew Neil, but he was taking tickets at the front door. And he said it was a shit show. There were people with fake tickets, and it just became like a whatever at a certain point. But
crazy.
But yeah, so recapping 2024, man, there's been a lot of exciting things that have happened this year in grappling, in the world of jiu-jitsu. Not only in our local competition, man, our local competition, there has been some fucking fire shows. I mean, you name the card, Arte Suave, Submission Pro Tour. There have been some great cards this year. One of the top matches of the year, Stockton Jiu-Jitsu's own Matias went up against Rich Lott, dude, and Arte Suave, and that match was killer, dude. That match was back and forth. I think it's got to be one of the at least local matches of the year, in my opinion. There's some other good ones out there, man. But I think that one, man, the crowd was into it. Both teams, they know each other well. They were the coaches were on top of the game. Like, it was a good match, and that's got to be one of my top ones that I've seen this year. Do you have any top matches that you've seen from the local circuits?
Ironically, it happens to be with Richard Lott too, but it was on the 209 beatdown.
Oh, okay,
just watching his first MMA fight, I thought was pretty awesome.
Talk to me about it. I didn't actually get to see that.
I came like literally right at the end, and I want to say it was by decision, but just watching them and knowing them, so actually seeing them go out there and do something like that, I thought was awesome.
Yeah, we need some young fighters coming out of the 209. The fighting scene has changed over the years, and Rich is kind of like the next generation of fighters that need to come out of the Stockton area, dude. We went through a generation where like everyone was trying to fight, and then something happened to where like we were all injured or retired or something, and people haven't been fighting in Stockton. Like, there hasn't been like major fight gyms in a while.
I think people are training a lot smarter too, though.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the day, you hear those stories, and you've lived through those. I mean, they were just all-out wars, especially when you hear about like how Shamrocks and all them got down over there. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, the sparring sessions back then, like, back in the day, the slaughterhouse was known for having that sign that said no headgear allowed. Nowadays, man, you just don't see those things, And you're right, the training probably has gotten a lot smarter, Not everyone's just getting into a fight every single time they show up to the gym.
A study just came out saying that it's actually probably more beneficial to not wear headgear.
To not wear headgear.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Yeah. What's the knowledge behind it?
I didn't read the whole thing, but I shouldn't have brought it because I haven't read the whole thing. But I did see it. Just going through it.
That's interesting. I wonder. So a lot of times, like I notice if you wear headgear, like, and you take a lot of shots, you get a headache, dude.
Yeah, it hurts a lot more.
Yeah, it bangs your head around. Like, there's no space for your brain, I guess, to move in there. I don't know the science behind it. I know there's a lot of smarter people out there that do, though. And if they're saying it's beneficial to not wear it, right?
Yeah,
man. Sean Strickland's onto something, huh?
Yeah, man. Actually, Max Holloway doesn't even sparring, from what he says.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys like that used to spar a lot, and just kind of just toned it back the older they get. I don't know, man. Max in that last one, that was a rough one.
That was tough, especially being a Max fan.
Talking about UFC fights of the year, okay? What was one of your top UFC cards?
Man, ironically, it was it 300 with Max Holloway
knocking out Gaethje, right?
That was, dude, that was probably the best knockout ever.
Oh, dude, that was insane. Like, called him to the middle of the ring. Gaethje replied and showed up to the middle of the ring ready to throw, and
he had nothing to lose at that point.
Max's combos were just so much like sharper at that point in the fight. Like, he was putting everything together so nice in that fight.
I was really surprised at that Topuria fight with Max. I was hoping Max would do just...
Yeah, it looked like he was a step off to me. Like something was off. I don't know exactly what it was. Maybe he was not feeling well, whatever, but something was a little bit off. He couldn't find his footing. He couldn't quite... Like, he was like 2 seconds behind on everything, and it caught up to him, man. That was a rough knockout. What about the dude at 205 knocking everyone out, Alex Pereira?
Man,
how many fights has he had this year, man?
I think like 4 or 5.
4 or 5 fights this year at 205 too. That's huge, right? And he's just KO'd everybody.
Yeah. Man, as soon as they put him in with like a wrestler or someone else, I don't know. I want to see that.
Yeah,
I got to see that.
The wrestler is where it's going to change things. Yeah. Khamzat, right? He's there in that area of weight that he can do some damage. A guy like Khamzat goes in there, it's a whole different world, man.
Yeah, well, Khamzat, his last fight was at 185, and before that he was doing 170. So
yeah, but he's more of an 85, 205 guy. And from my understanding, he has real issues with cutting weight and getting down to those lower weight classes.
Yeah, the way he took out Whitaker's teeth.
Oh my god, dude! Crushed his jaw, dude.
Man.
Yeah, people don't do that to Whitaker too. That's the other thing about it. Like, to do that to a tough guy like Whitaker, like, whew, it was a quick tap, man. It was no joke.
Yeah, I mean, even watching it, I was like, why is he tapping so fast? And dude, when you seen afterwards, it was like, whoa,
yeah,
he should have tapped quicker.
Yeah, now I heard like controversy things behind it. Like, did he break his jaw or did his teeth just get shifted around?
I didn't read too much into it, but just looking at that picture,
it was nasty, dude.
It was nasty. That was really nasty.
What was your favorite? So like we obviously had over the summer in like August, September area, we had ADCC and the first ever CJI card. Let's hear your takeaways from that. Which event do you feel like, if we're rating them on a scale of 1 to 10, which one do you feel like gotten a better rating? And obviously, CJI just announced they got the funding for number 2, and it's coming this summer, right?
Yeah, something like team matches or something.
Yeah. So, give me your thoughts on all that.
I like what he's doing. You know, I'm a big fan of Craig Jones. I mean, I like what he's doing. I think though he probably should have did it on a different weekend, so that way he could have had more competition. You know,
really?
I mean, I think if that's what he wants to do, I think he could have still proved the same point doing it a month before or a month after.
Right. I heard a lot of things. It was more of, that was a war with ADCC, right? He narrowed it down and said, I'm going to go to war with these fuckers. Pulled all the best guys out of the tournament, or at least some of the top dogs, right? The Bertolo brothers. Yeah, there's still some good ADCC matches though. Like, you know, Felipe Pena went on a good run. Pixley and Miragali, that one was insane, dude. Miragali he's going to be out for a while from that one. I don't know when we'll see him again. It may be ADCC, the next ADCC run, dude. Like, he's going to be out for a minute from that injury.
Yeah, that was a good match.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you. I only watched a couple of ADCC matches, and that happened to be one of them, and I think it was just the highlights of it.
Yeah. Nicky Rod's brother, J-Rod, went against Giancarlo Bononi.
Yeah.
And that match was fire, too.
I did see that.
Yeah. Do you think like, okay, the thing about that match is it was like a natural athlete potentially versus like somebody that's clearly fucking gotten 10 times bigger than the last ADCC. Do you think that J-Rod has a chance to like come back and take out the top dogs in that weight class, or do you think he needs to get a little bit bigger?
Yeah, I don't know. I think he can. I don't think he really needs to get bigger. I mean, I don't know. Everyone's just getting bigger.
Right.
So.
Everyone's getting bigger, right? We've been told all these years that size doesn't matter in jiu-jitsu. Now everyone's big and on juice, and now it matters.
Yeah, I mean, it really does, though. I mean, if you have two people with the exact same technique.
What's going to be the difference, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Who's your standout grappler of 2024? Who would you say like impressed you the most this year? It could be anybody too.
I'm gonna have to say with the Rotolo brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
dude, they looked good, man. Like that match versus Andrew Tackett and CJI, man, that is insanely good. Did you see that Helena just got her brown belt under John Danaher recently?
You know, I honestly did not.
Yeah, she's like 17 years old, right? Which throws me off. Like, I forget she's 17, but she got her purple belt like back in September. Like, she's just beating everybody in every competition she goes in.
So she got September this year, got a purple, then brown, then black.
She's not a black belt yet. She just got her brown belt.
Right,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. But I mean, that's pretty big. Purple belt and brown belt all in 1 year. Do you think that we're going to see more like standout athletes like that coming around, the more popular jiu-jitsu gets that just blast through the belts a lot quicker than, you know, the 2-year average?
I don't know. It's like old school versus new school.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of old school thinking, you know, people are training for years before they get any of those belts. And now it seems like, you know,
they come quicker and quicker, right?
But at the same time, there's more schools available, there's more classes available. So I mean, it's
Well, there's more training available.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you can study this stuff online all day. All the instructional videos out nowadays, like they're insane. Like they're available on your phone.
well, I mean, even just in Stockton, I mean, I was looking for a place, years ago, and at the time, I think it was just Torres. At the time, I think Shingu was on Pacific Avenue.
Oh yeah.
And there was American kickboxing. No, it was I can't remember what it was called, but it was that Krav Maga place.
Yeah, the one behind by Chuck E. Cheese, right?
Yeah, but at the time it was by Bevmo.
Yeah.
And so I mean, but and the classes, the times, it wasn't easy just to find a class. Now, I mean, places have a class morning, afternoon, night.
Yeah.
Which, 10 years ago was unheard of.
Yeah, it was definitely a different scene. Like it's so much more readily available, and like, I mean, there's going to be good things that come with that, but there's also going to be some bad. Like obviously the sport's going to get a little bit diluted down, you would say. But I go to these jiu-jitsu tournaments, competitions. If you go to a jiu-jitsu world league and you see the great jiu-jitsu that's out there, it's hard to deny people nowadays. Like you see these 12-year-olds and 10-year-olds hitting like berimbolo rolls and shooting triangles that I was just like reverse De La Riva triangle. Like what in the hell?
Yeah.
Like these kids are good, man. So it's really hard to deny, all the good jiu-jitsu that's out there nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, it is more accessible now.
Yeah.
I mean, even with those, YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube was nothing when we were even in high school. Like for me, YouTube was nothing. Like
It was like cat videos at the
Yeah.
time. It was like, right.
I knew it'd get big at some
Yeah.
point. It was too popular. They sink a lot of money into it. But so we're having the guest of the year finalist. We're down to the last couple of days of voting on this, and it's down to Phil, Kalani, Rich, 3 great guests. I thought all of those podcasts were fun. I got to record in their facilities with those, so it made it even better to check it out and get the little tour, behind the scenes access, and but all those episodes were great to me. Do you have a favorite out of those 3 that you're rooting for guest of the year?
Man, that's kind of tough. Story-wise, if we were basing it just on the actual podcast, I thought Kalani's by far was the best.
Yeah.
And, and I've known Kalani a long time, but I've also known Phil a long time. So,
Yeah.
Apologize. I don't know Rich. I've met him like once.
Yeah.
At that class actually.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it's either Phil or Kalani for me.
Yeah.
And story-wise, based on story, I would say Kalani's podcast, I thought that was off the hook. But at the same time, with my friendship with Phil, I mean,
Yeah.
I can't.
I thought they're all good, man. It's hard to really break it down. I hate that it was those 3 guests in particular too, because all of them are great people and they're great friends of mine. But I really hated it because I thought they were all really good podcasts. I don't want to have to pick just one of them. I was hoping it'd be like somebody, from out of town or something like that would be into the finalists, but those were legit the top downloaded ones. It was close. I think it was close between one of the finalists and Alika Foster almost snuck in there. I mean, it was 1 or 2 downloads away of a difference between those. And yeah, Alika's another good one, man. I loved having him on the show, man. There's been some great guests on this show.
There was a lot of good ones. I don't know if anyone heard that the Carlton Crosby one, but that one was great.
Yeah.
I mean, David Lozen, Tim Freeman too. I mean,
Yeah.
those were. So hearing some of those stories were pretty awesome. Even Tyler Bray is just a story of
Dude,
what
that
he's
guy
gone through.
inspires the shit out of me, man. He has been a good friend of mine for so long, and dude, every time I talk to him and like I pick his brain on certain things, because that guy's been through some shit, but like he does not let anything get him down. He just keeps trucking through his entire life, man, and he gets better and better at jiu-jitsu. I'm like, fuck, dude, there's so many people that make excuses on stuff, and he has every right to and just doesn't. So he's a badass.
Man, speaking of adversity, even that latest one with Edgar, I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't know the guy was, I didn't know he was blind.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think about those things, man. Jiu-jitsu is hard for people with sight. Yeah. You know, people's hard for people that jiu-jitsu is hard if you have full use of your legs. Jiu-jitsu is hard if you have both of your hands, right? And we've had some pretty like entertaining guests when it comes to like talking about like none of them made excuses for anything, you know? And I love talking to these people, man. I get messages all day long. I had a gentleman hit me up, and I'm in the works of trying to get him on, but he was in a really bad car accident. And I mean, dude, he almost lost his legs, almost lost his life, and just kept going with it and kept going with jiu-jitsu. And you hear about those stories, man, and you're like, fuck, dude, I'm being lazy for not wanting to go to practice tonight.
Dude, when are you getting Steve Heath on here?
Oh, dude, I have been trying to narrow that. I talked to him early this year. I talked to him midway through this year. I'm hoping that one's coming sometime early 2025. I've been trying to narrow him down and get him on the show. And man, he's got some of the best stories, dude. I don't know what kind of time limit I can set on that one if I could. I know that, dude, back when we were at Rodney's, there would be multiple times my wife would text me at 10 o'clock at night, like, where the hell are you? It says you're in a parking lot in the middle of nowhere. And I'd pull out my phone. I'm like, oh, shit. Like, sorry, I've been talking to Steve for about 3.5 hours after practice.
Dude, he has awesome stories.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know. I mean, he fought Chuck Liddell.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, dude, like, you pull up his Sherdog. Can you pull that up for me real quick? Pull up his fight record and look at some of the names of his earlier fights, even before Chuck Liddell. Like, the names on that list were like insane. And then you look at like the dates and the times, and like legit, he was fighting 4 people in a night. You know, and that was the like heyday of illegal MMA and UFC. You know, and
yeah, Yoki Kondo. I mean, some people won't even know who these names are, but I mean,
yeah,
you know,
it's insane, right? Yuki Kondo's on there.
Ivan
Salivary, yep. UFC popular guy, dude. He went on a good run in the UFC. Salivary did. Didn't he fight like Lieben or something too?
He fought what is that guy's name? Josh Haynes.
Josh Haynes, yep. He won Ultimate Fighter season with Tito Ortiz, Ken Shamrock.
I think so.
Yeah, season 3 or 4. Yeah. Main evented that one at the Stockton Arena, dude. That one was a sick one. I
remember being there.
You were there?
Yeah.
So I trained with Steve for that fight. I was in his camp, and dude, that was actually a really hard one for our whole team. The camp went great for everything in that fight, and for all of our fighters. Dude, we had like 4 or 5 fighters on that card, and everyone's camp went real smooth. Like, people were peaking. We brought in great boxers to spar with our guys. And dude, that night, everyone just fell apart. Like, that whole night was cursed. And it was a fucking rough one. But
yeah, it looks like, just looking at it, looks like there was a lot of local people out there.
Yeah.
Chuck Booze,
yep.
Bobby Clearly.
Yep. JC was supposed to fight. I think his fight got rebooked. Oh, that was Chad.
Chad, yeah.
Yep, Chad was on that card. I think Steve Hernandez was on that card. Look for him.
He wasn't.
He wasn't?
I did watch Steve fight at the arena, though. And
yeah.
I think I seen him fight also in the stands right after.
Yeah, yeah. Dude, that guy cracks me up, man. We went to Placerville back in the day. It was Rebel Fighter, and he took a last minute fight. It didn't go his way. It was a pretty rough fucking night for him, but and he goes out there, man. He used to throw it down. He was not afraid to hop in a cage and fight somebody. That's one thing for sure, man.
Yeah, for sure.
He back in the day, we used to spar a lot. Like I'd go to we call it the slaughterhouse. Some people called it the ice house. You know, then it got fancy. They started getting nice equipment. They call it Sencal Combat, dude, for a quick minute there. But
I went out there one time when it was off of West Lane.
Oh, really?
It was like, it was like, there was, I think, a park across the street or something like that. It was like in the back.
Huh. Yeah, I had only been to the one downtown. And it was a hood, dude. It was like real ghetto down there. Like, but I remember going in there and fucking, it was just a fucking tough gym, dude. And like, I remember Moses was all sweaty, had all the mitts. Moses was such a good coach, dude. He had the stomach thing, he had the leg things, he had all the pads. He knew how to work people out on the mitts. he'd look at people and be like, "This sucks. You know, you got to keep working on it." And literally, you'd work it with Moses over there in the corner. He'd move around with you, but I remember those fights training with Steve, Steve Hernandez and Steve Heath. Anthony Garcia was over there at the time. That was probably one of the first times I came across him. Matt Freeman used to train over there quite a bit. Dude, it was just a badass gym, man. And like Jen Tate was there. I remember she was there quite a few, like right around the time she did that Taekwondo.
That show?
Muay Thai show. Yeah, Fight Girl or something like that. And dude, it was just a tough gym. I loved it, man. It's sad that those places aren't around. Like even Fight Club, man. I saw a old picture of Fight Club the other day, dude.
Yeah, that's 2 blocks away from here right now. That
Fight
place
Club
was
is sick,
awesome,
dude.
Yeah, that place was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a cage, they had a boxing ring. I mean, it was set up.
Oh, dude. They had like a whole locker room, like with lockers and fucking showers, and they had the works there, dude. That gym was way ahead of its time. Like if it was around now, it'd probably be the most busiest gym in town.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like they had it all, dude.
Yeah, and it had different areas too. It seemed like you'd walk up a couple steps this way, you go that way. There was like training area here, there. I mean, that place was awesome. It was
sick, dude. I had a couple buddies that trained there, and then we did a jiu-jitsu tournament, Shingu versus Stockton Fight Club back in the day. It was such a cool time, dude. I remember we were warming up. I was warming up with Bobby Curley, and we're doing standing Kimuras in the ring, like right before the match. And even Dave Hose did it with us too. Dave Hose, shout out to him, rest in peace. He was warming up with us, and we were like doing all these flashy ass jiu-jitsu moves right before our match. So like just to get in their head a little bit, you know.
There's a rumor I've heard that the original Stockton Slap happened over there.
Yeah? Let's hear it.
No, I heard it was from you.
From me? Oh, I did. Yes.
I've heard that.
Oh my gosh, that is true. Wow. Yeah. I forgot about that. It was against Ramoni was his name. I forget his last name, but the dude was he was a badass stand-up fighter too. He used to fight overseas. How you fucking... I can't believe you brought that up. I forgot about that, bro. I slapped the fuck out of that guy. I remember I'm going to tie up, like a head and arm tie up or something. And I remember he just kept backing away. And I went real hard, just slapped the fuck out of him. Yeah. That was before Nick and Nate were doing that shit. That is hilarious, bro.
Yeah, I've heard that story.
Dude, I forgot about that. Man, I had a video somewhere, and I've tried to find it. It's gone for good. But I had a video of, like, all of our matches on there, and it was fucking, like, pretty cool. Like, if I could find that. It was on, like, one of those Sony Hi8 videotapes, that go inside the cameras. If I could find that tape somewhere, dude, it'd be sick.
Dude, that would be crazy.
Yeah.
Because I think Nate even had a couple of matches out there, yeah?
I don't think he did on that card. Dude, there was always little things popping up, man. We did the Gracie Opens back in the day. Those were pretty cool. I wish those would come back. They were probably the worst ran tournaments at the time. They were just like awful. Like if it said you were going at 2:00, you were probably going at 6:30. So man, you see these Jiu-Jitsu World League ones nowadays, and they're like 2:00 on the dot, and you're there. You're on the mats at 2.
That's good. I mean, they need that too, because I mean it's being filmed. People are watching.
Yeah. Well, they got a tight system, dude, with their whole online. You could download all of your matches. You could rewatch them. You get points per submission, per whatever you do. Like, dude, their whole little system of Jiu-Jitsu World League's pretty badass. There's actually one coming up right in January 25th, 22nd.
I think so. It seems
it's
like
coming up pretty quick.
Like 3 times. I think they changed it to 4 times a year now.
Oh, dude, I think they announced so many this past year, and they added more to it throughout the year. So that's just a growing organization, man. They're gonna keep coming around, and they're gonna keep doing their thing. What's your favorite local organization right now for grappling?
I mean, I think it has to be the was it Jiu-Jitsu World League?
Jiu-Jitsu World League? Yeah. They're pretty solid. I think it's a thing that like they're putting IBJJF on their toes a little bit, right? On their heels.
they don't have it anymore. I don't see it, but Jiu-Jitsu battle. I thought that was pretty cool.
I think it's coming back. It's supposed to come back in January, I think. Maybe I'm thinking of a different one, but that one was in the Bay Area, right?
No, they had them right here at the Civic. I think.
That's right.
I might be mistaken, but I think JG, that Javier guy, actually through those.
That's
right.
right.
I might be mistaken.
I don't know exactly who was involved, but I know Kalani was going around promoting him. I know a lot of guys had some big matches. Man, they did a couple shows, right?
Yeah.
Like I want to say I remember at least seeing 2 pop up. Yeah, man, we got to get these shows coming back, dude. Jiu-Jitsu battle, where you at? Where you at? Let's get back in there. Let's have some good ones. But yeah, it's been an awesome year of grappling in a just a whole, dude. Like I think that I've seen grappling grow over the past like 3 years more than I ever have in the previous 15. Like these past 3 years has just been getting better and better, and there's so many more people out there. Like these Jiu-Jitsu World League's got thousands of competitors.
Yeah.
Like it's just getting so much better each and every day.
Yeah, I think they just need to promote it even more. I mean, UFC is doing a good job. I mean, if anyone has that UFC app or whatever, I mean, they have jiu-jitsu matches there all day, and they got matches with UFC fighters. You know, I seen Jorge Masvidal versus I can't remember that guy's name. But I mean, they got matches. I mean, you can just go on there and just watch matches with MMA fighters, with everything, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they're really getting into jiu-jitsu this coming up year, like more than ever before. Like I've slowly been seeing them like put more and more out there, but I heard it's going to get even better. So, do you think that Flow Grappling is going to stay around with the UFC being involved in a big promotion?
I mean, Flow, they got like what 80cc and like
Who's number one? They got a few shows and stuff like that.
I think the ones that are on the UFC app, people don't. I mean, Chael Sonnen has his own Submission Underground.
Yeah, there's a few of them out there.
I mean, I just
EBI.
I just rewatched John Jones versus Dan Henderson in a straight.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
In the cage.
And, and it was, but people don't know there's matches like you can watch, and I mean, it's cool to have big UFC stars on there too, so that way. It's other people who aren't really into it can watch and be like, oh, okay, I've seen these guys fight. Now they're just grappling,
right? And
then you can see all the other events they have. I think EBI is on UFC as well.
They had announced that GSP was making a comeback to grappling and was going to do a couple of those matches. I don't know whatever happened with them. I don't think they ever ended up coming through, but I agree with you, dude. Having some star power in there, those UFC names, like they don't have to take punches. They could be retired. They could be, like GSP hasn't had a fight in multiple years and take a grappling match and still be good with it.
Yeah, I think even Uriah Faber does a couple of matches. I think he went against Gordon Ryan's little brother, right? Yeah.
That was actually not that long ago. But yeah, dude, there's a lot of good grappling in the UFC app. Plus, the UFC app's like $10, where Flow Grappling's what $150 a year or something crazy like that.
And then you forget you have it, and then you end up paying for it.
Oh yeah, I'm stuck on that window right now. I forgot I've had it for the past 4 years. Yeah, and every single time it comes around at a weird time.
Yeah, when you need the money.
Yeah, right when you need it. Yeah, it comes out of the account. You're like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, even UFC. I think right now, I'm only paying like $4.99 a month.
Wow.
I think they dropped it.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's
and it's worth it, dude, because you get the fights too on there. A couple weeks late.
They have a bunch of all the old ADCC fights on there too. I mean, it's crazy. I just rewatched Marcelo Garcia versus Rico Rodriguez.
Yeah, those classic ADCC fights that are on there. But I just dig the classic UFC fights too. The old school ones, early 2000s, right when Dana White started getting involved. And dude, those cards are epic, man. Everyone was juicing. Like there's a couple fights I remember they were making like best friends fight each other. Yeah. And dude, these guys were going and knocking each other out.
Yeah, there's also some matches that like people forgot about, like Vitor Belfort versus Chuck Liddell. That was
that was a slugfest. Yeah. Fights. Kevin Randleman had a good run in there. Vitor Belfort's fights with Randy Couture, Tito Ortiz,
Tank
like
Abbott,
yeah,
Scott
dude.
Ferozzo, or
Then you break down the Kimbo fights, and Kimbo's generation, like late 2008, 2009. That dude, that was some of the best fighting in my generation. Like, dude, Nick Diaz was knocking fools. Like, he was going on his nice little run in Strike Force. His KJ Noons fights.
yeah, I thought that was actually a great time for
Yeah.
MMA as a whole, because they had good shows. They had not just I'm not sure if they had Strike Force, but they had Affliction.
Affliction,
They had some,
It was Elite XC was around back then. Affliction, Elite XC. There was a bunch of them that just popped up for like one or two shows too, and they'd put on some badass cards.
Yeah,
and
I
then
mean, even before
disappear.
UFC bought out WEC, they had some great, they had all the lighter fighters.
Yeah, dude. The fucking Miguel Torreses and those guys were fucking solid. And then Jens Pulver got back into it.
Yeah.
And fought Uriah a couple times. Dude, that time in fighting was so fucking badass too. And those fighters were down to earth too. Like I remember we'd see them at like shows all across like the country and shit. And we were nobodies, like Bobby, I think, had like maybe 2 or 3 fights or, nothing crazy. And then Chuck Liddell's hanging out in the back with us. We're like, fuck yeah. Like those memories, man, it was cool growing up during those times. Like we gotta hang out with a lot of different fighters. Randy Couture was around. Ken Shamrock was around. Rampage, Rashad, Mayhem Miller. Man, the list goes on and on, dude.
Dude, Mayhem Miller, I think that guy was ahead of his time. I mean,
Mayhem?
he was great in jiu-jitsu, but other than just that, I mean, just the stuff he was doing, the shows, the way he dressed, and all that.
He's Craig
stuff
Jones.
He was doing,
He's Craig Jones, essentially, but without Craig Jones being on drugs. Like,
well, I don't know.
yeah, who knows, man? He's been partying, dude. He's been definitely doing some partying. Do you think he comes back and does a serious match this coming up here? No. You think he just has fun with this CJI thing and keeps going with it?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, he's great for the sport no matter what he does.
Do you think the match with Gordon and Nicky Rod surfaces in 2025?
No.
What about Craig Jones and Gordon Ryan?
No.
All right.
I honestly don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's kind of weird, but they had their little thing on the internet. I read into it a little bit. He said, under this circumstance, they said this. I just think they're not going to do it.
Yeah. It's going to be a tough one to make it happen, dude. Like, a lot of people think it's easy and, oh, yeah, they should be able to pull it off. I don't think it's that easy. Like, plus, the other thing is Gordon's beat all these guys already. He has nothing left to fucking prove except kind of clear his name, right? The story of clearing your name type thing. But I don't know, man.
That was, when he went against Gordon Ryan versus Craig Jones in EBI, that was like a triple overtime. That was a great match.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if we'll see one again, man. Like, they became training partners after that, right? Shortly after that?
Yeah, right after that.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden that went sour.
Yeah, and then Gordon Ryan got really big.
Yeah. We also saw the fall of a really good grappler, Andrew Wiltie, man. He went on a terrible run. I think towards around the election time, he deleted his Instagram. Yeah, I heard he went to jail for some charges. I don't know what the status with that guy is. But man, I would love for somebody to clean that guy up and get him back into a jiu-jitsu match, right?
I think it's too late.
You think it's too late, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. That guy is
Too much Panda Express, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think his brother's house just got burned down too, right?
Yeah, there's accusations that he might have been involved in it, but I don't know, man. It's tough, because he's not only dealing with personal issues, but he's dealing with a mental health issue, dude. It sounds like.
It sucks because he had a lot of talent.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like he had that bad injury, a knee injury or something. I think he blew his ACL. And ever since then, it just kind of changed his trajectory on where he was, man. He was at a really high level, and dude, he was about to get a lot of matches. And after that Daisy Fresh documentary dropped, and then all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah,
And I've seen some of his Instagram before with the leader, whatever. Yeah, he was
wild.
Yeah.
It was wild, man. I really hope he's gotten some help. Hopefully they're medicating him well in whatever facility he's in. But, man, we got to get that guy back healthy and back training jiu-jitsu. Yeah, it's been a good year, man, in grappling and jiu-jitsu as a whole. And I'm excited to see 2025 and where this year is going to go. And, I'm just I'm thrilled to bring you guys some more grappling content. We got some big plans for Grapplers Talk in 2025. We're going to get more shirts and swag and all that fun stuff.
You know whose stories I've heard and are just crazy? I don't know him personally, but I know you do. Chuck Walker.
Oh, Chuck is the man, dude.
I mean, I was looking it up on the internet about him riding his bike through all four corners of the United States.
Yeah.
A bicycle.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
What's crazy about that guy too is like he did it with like a backpack on. He didn't have plans to stay in certain places. He stayed wherever he was and just survived.
That's crazy.
So I would love to get some stories about how that went down, where some of those stops he made was. And yeah, that guy's amazing, man. He definitely taught me a lot in jiu-jitsu. That was another guy, man, I'd get caught talking to in the parking lot, dude. He told me stories about him going to Brazil back in the day, and he said him and a bunch of the guys all took a trip out there, and he was telling me some of the details, dude. I won't repeat them, but man, it was a good time.
Do you know where he's at?
I think he's out of state somewhere. I think he's somewhere in the South, but I haven't caught up with him in a while. I think he's a good one. Chuck Walker, reach out to Dave Pearson. We can make that happen. But yeah, Chuck's a good one. We need to get him on. We'll get Steve on this coming up year. We've been in talks with a couple OG legends. Dave Terrell we've been in talks with and stuff like that. So we're just here to bring you the best content and go make your voice be heard for Guest of the Year. There's only a couple more days left of voting, and we will be announcing the winner next week on our Instagram page. So go vote for Guest of the Year. We have some awesome guests on there. Go download their podcast and listen to them if you haven't already. And we'll get you guys going for next year. 2025, set some goals. I'm really thrilled about this. Okay, my cousin has me do this goal board every year. Mm-hmm. And he has us go and like fucking cut things out of magazines and like really, really envision this shit and make it happen. Okay, I put 6 major goals in my life that I wanted to achieve this year. Okay, and some of them were pretty fucking wild. Like starting January 1st, I did not think they were gonna even get close. Okay, out of those 6 things, I hit 4 out of the 6. Okay.
This has to be one of them.
This is one of them. Okay, and on Saturday will be another one.
That's right. Yes,
so.
Sir.
Out of 6 things and major things, like, and I could still probably do the other 2. Like, it's possible, it's going to be a hard one, but it's definitely possible to do those other 2. But my goal board has been posted on my refrigerator in my garage the whole year. Never taken it down. I crossed some things off once I hit them, but like you've been posting a lot of positive stuff on your Instagram page and like different things like self-reflection things. And that's one of the biggest ones, man. We got a new year coming up. It's time to set some goals, put them in front of you, right? So you could actually see them get knocked off the list, right? Yes, it feels hella good going over there and crossing another thing off. And, set some crazy goals. You'd be surprised, like, where it'll take you. And the power of the mind, manifestation of different things in life is really what it's all about.
100.
Yeah. And, if I can encourage anyone to do anything, set some goals for this year. Don't forget to check out Grapplers Talk each and every week. Rex, thank you for being on and catching up with us, man. And we'll definitely have you on. He's actually working on a podcast. We're gonna put Rex to the fire, and he's gonna set some goals for that podcast next year. But we will definitely hear some more from him. But everyone, thank you for tuning in to Grapplers Talk. This has been another awesome episode, and we are.
This is Grapplers Talk.